Hi, Retro Kevo here, and today I'm talking about an arcade machine. Not just any old arcade machine, not just any old little bitty famous arcade machine, but the arcade machine. For me, the greatest arcade machine ever made, Defender. Now, Defender was developed in 1980 by a guy called Eugene Jarvis and his team. They were working on it and it was released in 1981 into the arcades. Now, by all accounts, at the trade fairs, Defender had a cool reception. Many people probably thought, whoa, this game looks overcomplicated. It had a lot of buttons, it was very fast and extremely tough to play. And they probably had a few worries as to how many units it would shift. And if you think about it, at the time you had Space Invaders, Asteroids, and these machines were very simple to play. They literally had one or two buttons and a lever. So this was something else when Defender came out. So maybe they were right to have worries. But, you know, that proof is in the pudding, I reckon. And once the game was out there, people started to play it. People started to realise what the buttons were for. And let's be honest, the buttons were strategically placed really well on the machine. They had really put some thought into making this machine. And it was easy to play, not as in easy to do well. It wasn't easy to get a high score at Defender, but you got used to how to play it quite quickly. So of course they started to shift some units, and Williams did very well indeed out of Defender. Now by all accounts it has had a little bit more of a sort of cooler reception in Japan. Didn't sell as many, but I think for the rest of the world, especially UK, Europe, it did really well, really well. Now to the game itself. Wow, the game itself was really brilliant to play. It was a side-scrolling game. Now by all accounts it was the first side-scrolling game in the arcades, but if you know different, please let me know. I'm not claiming to know everything there is to know about arcade machines, and if there's anything I need to be put right on any of the videos I do, I'm always happy to be put straight, so just make a comment of it. But yeah, so basically it was side-scrolling left to right. You had some humans down at the bottom. The little sort of pink and yellow sort of things at the bottom were the humans, and the aliens just wanted to destroy the humans. They do that by picking them up. A little mutant Space Invader type alien would come down, grab hold of one and take him to the top of the screen, and there's one doing it just there, and it was your job to stop that by all means necessary. Now you had your lasers obviously on your spaceship, you had your wits of course, and then you had a smart bomb and hyperspace. Now smart bomb, it's just a button you use, it would destroy everything on the screen, but obviously you only had 3 of those. I think you used to get some extra ones. But the fun one for me was the hyperspace. If you really got into trouble where you weren't going to survive, you'd try your luck and press the hyperspace button, which would just transport you to anywhere else on the screen, and quite often that meant death as well. So obviously you use your scanner at the top. That was your way of keeping an eye on things. If you heard a human being picked up, you would be able to hear a noise and you'd be able to tell on the scanner where it was, and you try and get there as quickly as possible. And that was it. So you just try to defend the humans until the humans were all gone, and once the humans were all gone, the planet would explode, and you had this sort of massive flashing on the screen, and it would be, there it goes, I just got it there. And then you just flew around in space and everything would come at you, and it was like the Alamo. It was absolutely brilliant fun. You never lasted long after that. But that was basically the game. Brilliant sound effects, brilliant play, so smooth, absolutely fantastic. And one last thing I'd say about Defender and arcade games and video games in general really is I have a lot of feelings of nostalgia to do with video gaming, and I think I'm amongst good friends there, and I think, you know, thousands if not millions of people get the same feelings from arcade games. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But yeah, me and my friend used to go down to the arcade. We're talking back in the day in the early 80s. We'd get a bus down to the nearest arcade to us. It's about a 2 or 3 mile journey, and we'd pocket money in hand. We'd have a couple of quid in our pocket, and I'm thinking back then the games were about 10p a go, you know. And I remember one particular day we used to go down, and it used to be the same machines, Space Invaders and Asteroids, and there's a couple of others. I think there was a shark one or a tank one, but they were nothing amazing. But I remember we walked in one day and there it was, Defender. I even remember where it was in the arcade. It was to the left as you walked in, and it just looked so colourful compared to the other ones. The cabinet was so well painted, you know, it looked brilliant. The others, I hate to say it, they looked dull in comparison, even though I loved those games. They just looked dull, the cabinet, the game itself. And I remember looking at all the buttons, and a bit like those trade people, I thought, my God, this is going to be hard to play. But you know what? We started playing, and that was it. Fell in love with the game, absolutely brilliant. Me and my friend, often we'd have our bus fare home, we'd have that 10p put in a different pocket to get the bus home. More often than not, we'd think to ourselves, come on then, let's go for it. Let's have one more game. with our bus fare, we'd have to walk to 2 or 3 miles home. And I remember great fun. You know, at the time it felt a long walk home as a kid, but it was worth it just to have one more game with a machine like Defender. Anyway, I thought I'd add that to it. You know, nostalgic is a great thing. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Defender, what an arcade machine.